Hello, everybody. Today is day 12 of the month of Elul. It is a special, poignant day for me because it is the yahrzeit, the third anniversary of the passing of my beloved mother, Ella Esther Bas Avraham Shmuel Aleh Shalom. She was the most amazing mother. I would like to dedicate this live and actually the whole month of Elul in her merit. And so Ella Esther Bas Avraham Shmuel, her soul should have an elevation and be more empowered. We're never disconnected from the people that we love in this world, the people who's on a physical level in this world. They're right here. There are also other places, according to all reports, but they rejoice in our joys, and they are moved by what moves us and hurt by what hurts us, and they have the power to help us. So anyway, we want to work together, the souls in bodies currently and the souls that are coming back to bodies after they do this next phase with redemption. Okay, so I'm talking about Teshuva, which is, as I said in the description, commonly translated as repentance. Teshuva literally means return. And on the deep level, it means returning to your true essence. Obviously, all of life is about that. That's core. That's core to every person's mission. It's core to the reason why your soul is here. It's core to your individual purpose. It's core to Elul, in particular, because Elul is the month in which we ultimately recapture, rework, repent if necessary, make amends for, clean up after, complete, rectify everything that didn't happen or did happen in the past year. And then at the same time, through that, we prepare, we create new vessels to receive a whole new light on Rosh Hashanah in the coming year. So the idea of Teshuva, though, I want to talk about it at an even deeper level. So, as I've said a few times in the past, in previous lives, the soul, the nature of the soul, there are levels of the soul, there are 5 levels of the soul, but at your core, the core level, which is known as Yechida, which Yechida is connected to the word Yichud, which means unity, unification. On that level of the soul cannot separate, has never separated from its source, from God. So really the souls are, you could almost say, drops of God. Like the Torah describes, the Bible describes that when God created man, and we're all descended, we're all pieces of that original man of Adam and Eve. Eve is also part of Adam. Adam was created male and female. So when God created Adam, he gathered the dirt, the soil, the physicality, perhaps actually on a quantum level, if we look at it deeper, but from all parts of the earth, so that man, the soul, would be connected to everything. Every person is a holographic container and compound of everything that exists. Your soul is aware of everything. It's part of everything. It contains everything within it. And on the deepest level, it's in all places, all times. So the soul is just like a sprinkle of divinity. So the soul is, in its essence, in its nature, not only not separated from God, but once the soul comes into the body, the soul's desire, but rather before the soul comes into the body and when it's in the body, the soul's core desire, the Torah, mystical Torah describes it as the soul is basking beneath the throne of glory in the ultimate infinite bliss of godliness that's shining upon it. So even when the soul exists as a soul, its nature is to non-exist, like the flame of a candle. The candle flickers, the flame flickers up. Why? Because, as Kabbalah describes, the source of the flame is in the element, the core element, the Yesod HaEsh, the foundational element of fire, which is rooted underneath the orbit of the moon. Don't ask. And so the flame is constantly trying to go back to that source, but the wick and the wax, which the wick is, and the flame is burning the wick and the wax, that keeps it, holds it down. That's like the body and the soul. It's very much like the body and the soul. It wouldn't be a stretch to say that God created flame to illustrate, in part, to illustrate this movement of the soul and how the soul and the body's the weight, the body holds the soul down, life, the things that we use, that we consume in order to keep our soul in the body, that's the burning. And as, just like the candle, as the soul uses physicality in order to keep alive in the body, or as the body uses physicality propelled by the soul in order to keep the soul in the body, when we eat, when we sleep, we, breathe, when we drink, all of those things. So the soul is held down. And meanwhile, those things that it's using are burning like the wax. And that burning of the physicality elevates the divine spark back to its source and brings down light, literally bringing light, not physical light, or not only physical light, but spiritual light into the world. But the core nature of the soul is not to stay in the body. The core nature and desire of the soul is like the flame to reunite with its source. So the soul is pulling up. It wants to merge and disappear into the vast, infinite essence of divinity, of divine light. Why then does the soul stay in the body? Because God seduces the soul. Actually, as the world being recreated, and in case you haven't heard me say this before, the world is not a solid, although it appears to be. It's actually being recreated from infinite divine essence, infinite divine nothingness at every moment, every instant. Not instant like we can measure time, but way beyond that, way faster than that. So blinking in and out of existence way faster than any mind could comprehend. So that means that divine desire and divine power, God's desire and power, is bringing everything in the world back into existence at every instant from absolute nothingness. In other words, fresh, but with a memory. So our truth is that we just came into existence. And as I said that sentence, we came into existence again and again and again, countless times. But with a memory, so that we can work on ourselves, so that we can evolve and participate in this process, so that we can learn wisdom, so that we can grow, so that we can transform and transmute, so that we can bring more light into this system through this process of burning the physical and release on behalf of the spiritual. When you say a blessing over your food, when you pray, when you give your hard-earned money to a poor person or to a Torah institution, or some use it for something that helps people, that is giving away. So you're actually burning that materiality. You're burning the time that you put into earning that money, the sweat, when you ate food and then you went to your job and then you made some money and then used your intelligence, used your body, you used your life force, you used your time, and then you give that money away. So you're burning the physicality, so to speak, elevating it, releasing the divine sparks that are hiding within it and bringing more light into the entire system of creation, and of course including our own life. Most of this is invisible. That's the reason we're not running after doing it every second, because the nature of the game, as I said many times before, is that we're here to transform darkness into light, to reveal the truth inside of the concealment. So there has to be concealment. The Torah is here like a beacon of light, especially the mystical Torah, to show us what the truth is, but we have to engage. When we engage in this deep learning, then it illuminates our own inner soul's light, and more, not only which we learn from the outside, but that which we already have from the inside, but are not open to, because our personalities, the physicality, all of it is the concealment of the light. So then that actually shines a light inside our own being and allows more of our soul to come, not only from the outside, the light from the outside in, the mystical Torah, the divine light, but the light from the inside out. Okay, that's all a process. I'm just going over really quickly just to kind of set the stage. But the idea here is that the soul yearns to return to its source, and it's trying to all the time. So at every instant when the world is being recreated from divine nothingness, from divine intention, as it's uncreated, like the waves on the beach, it's uncreated, recreated, uncreated, recreated, uncreated, recreated. Every moment that it's uncreated, the soul is flying back, as if the flame would be released from the wick at every instant, it would be flying, out of existence. In other words, back to its non-dimensional or other-dimensional source. The source of fire is not actual fire. It exists in another dimension. It's like an omek, like we talked about, I guess yesterday or the day before. Anyway, so why does the soul stay in the body? Why does it keep coming back to the body? First of all, God seduces the soul by showing the soul, your soul, this is what your soul is actually experiencing. As I'm talking, countless trillions of times, more than trillions of times, since I started this live, your soul is going back to the source, and it's being seduced by what? By sparks of divinity. The soul is basking, as the flame going up, it's basking in the light of God, in bliss, of union. It doesn't care to be. It doesn't want to be, like Hamlet said, to be or not to be. The soul's like, yeah, not. Let me go back to myself. I want to be part of this thing. I don't want to exist. And then God is actually seducing the soul by showing the soul how it can be a co-creative partner, how it can reveal divinity, not just by disappearing into it, but by bringing it down and making it real and tangible, causing it to dominate over all of the concealments. And in a personal level, it's like a lot, like I'm to my beloved and my beloved is to me. God is like, you want me? You want me? You don't just want my light. You want to be intimate with me. You want to be one with me for real. For that, you have to exist. For that, you have to be my partner. Let's create don't just bask in my life. Become one with me. Get to know me. Let me know you. Get to know yourself. Let's do this thing together. Obviously, these are just my words. It's far more intense than that. It's infinitely more intense than that. But that is the propulsion. That is the supercharged divine light and power that seduces the soul to go against its core nature and come down into the darkness to find God in a deeper way. That's what's actually happening. It didn't just happen once when you were born. That's the first time it happens. It's happening in every second. Not second, every, cosmic blip. Intangible cosmic blip of time. So that's where Teshuva comes in. That's where awakening comes in, because what happens when the soul is concealed, when God is concealed in this world, so the soul comes down into this world of darkness and concealment, but inside of this whole structure of consciousness, which does not allow it to be expressed. So the soul comes down, and it's described in authentic Kabbalah and Hasidus, it's described as an incomparable descent from the highest heights, basking in the bliss of divine light and divine presence, down into a Bira Amikta, the deepest, darkest dungeon. That's how the soul experiences being trapped inside of our, okay, I won't get too insulting, inside of our human consciousness, where what we think about is, we're running on a hamster wheel, right? Eat, drink, sleep, whatever. Eat, drink, sleep, work, buy stuff, eat, drink, sleep, work, buy stuff, get depressed, get anxious, eat, drink, sleep, buy stuff, get depressed, get anxious, get mad, get addicted, have a little, addictive pleasure, feel guilty, eat, drink, sleep. That's where the soul is trapped. And since the soul is like a sprinkling of God, actually, to be more specific, that's not totally accurate, because the soul is actually the source of the Knesset Yisrael, the source of the souls is the Shekhinah, is the immanent divine presence, what's called the feminine aspect of God. That is held, each of us have a piece of that, has a piece of that is in prison through our human consciousness, our human emotions, our bodies, the physical world, which blinds us to our own existence, and everything else that goes with that. All the reactivity and cross-reactivity and the illusions that we live with, and the what we take from others and what we give to others and all that stuff. I don't have to elaborate. Everybody knows what that is like, but you might want to think about it a little bit, how hard that is for the soul. It's torture. And not only that, but the Torah is full of references to how the Shekhinah, this immanent divine presence, which is the source of Knesset Yisrael, which is the source of all the souls, is in Gullus. It's in exile. How come? Because if your soul is in exile and your soul is, that's a piece of that. So that Shekhinah is in exile. Each of us, that's where it's in exile. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. So what is Teshuva? What does Teshuva really mean? So sometimes that this word is discussed is explained as tashuv hey, that tashuv means to return, tashuv means to return. It's like an instruction, return, but it can be read as return the hey, return the last letter of God's 4-letter ineffable name, Shem Havaya, which is the Shekhinah, which is trapped in Gullus, which is trapped in you, which is trapped in me, trapped in our limited consciousness, trapped in our self-centered, blind, toxic emotions, trapped in our in our egos and our neediness, trapped in our despair and disappointment, trapped in our apathy, trapped in the physical, the sluggishness of the physical, trapped in all those places, trapped in our past traumas. I don't want to keep going and going, but this is the stuff that we are here to elevate. This is the stuff that we are here to transmute. And we have to be aware of it and what's really going on in order to have a shot. Okay, remember in Elul, the king is in the field. God is here to help. In all times, God is here to help, but in Elul, even more so. So we are here to do this work. We are here to rectify this situation. And we are here across multiple lifetimes in order to do that. Learning the lessons, making the mistakes, going back, getting clear. That's what life between life is. A clarification, a rectification. It's like a giant Elul, right? Okay, that lifetime, where'd you go wrong? Where'd you make a mess? What is it that you could have completed that you didn't complete? What do you have to rectify in order to come down and have, then take the next step? This is the last lifetime. The Rebbe said countless times that this is the last generation of exile and the first generation of redemption, last of Gullus, first of Geula. That means we have both exile and redemption in our lives, and we're battling it out in this spiritual war within our beings and outside of us as well, but primarily inside. And this is the time when we need to rectify everything. We will rectify everything by hook or by crook, as they say, willy-nilly. You like it, you don't like it. This is the last lifetime. So, and this is Elul. So this is the point, the hinge point in this hinge era where we get to now do those final rectifications. So the Shekhinah is sheared off. It's stuck in our bodies and in our minds and hearts, and in this whole illusion, which exists and doesn't exist at the same time, this physical world. And we have amnesia. And nevertheless, our soul keeps coming down against its will every instant to keep animating our body and working with this, because it's so cosmically attracted to the essence of God. It's in a love affair with God. But then when it gets trapped in the body, it has that amnesia. And all of this is happening all the time at every instant. Just all these different aspects and themes and paradigms and movements and dimensions and levels interplaying and interacting. And what happens when the soul doesn't succeed for too long, it starts to get what's called cholat ahava. I've talked about it before. It's love sickness, and the soul just decides that there's no point, I'm not going to succeed in this mission. And so it starts to withdraw from the body. That's mental illness, emotional illness, physical illness, lack of thriving. That's your soul saying, I just can't. I'm not interested anymore. It was compelling. It was a compelling vision. I did it for a while, but I just can't. I see there's no way for me to succeed. So that is not going to return. That's going to return the soul ultimately back to that basking in the bliss, space. But the job will not get done. What a waste. So now is the time to get the job done. What is that job? That job is to take the sparks. Your soul comes into your body because how is God showing himself to the soul through the divine, inside of the divine sparks that are hidden in the physical, those things that are meant to get burned and turn into light and bring more light into the whole world. So your soul is shown those things. It's not just your body that the soul is shown. It's not just the sparks hidden in your body. It's the sparks hidden in every bite of food you'll ever take, every word you'll ever exchange with another person, every touch you'll ever exchange, every influence, every moment of influence that you're ever meant to have, every breath of air you're ever meant to breathe, and everything else that you're ever meant to interact with, your soul is being shown those things right now, the divinity in those things that is propelling those things into existence, and that's what your soul is going after. So don't get distracted. And in the meanwhile, your soul is carrying, it's part of the Shekhinah, of the immanent divine presence of God that's trapped in exile in this nut house that we're rambling around in, rattling around in. So time to wake up. That's why this title is Awakening to Your True Self. A lot of people are talking about awakening now. It's not by accident. It's because that's the divine message right now. But not everybody, probably not anybody, really gets what it's totally about. We need to start getting that. And every time, so this the Hey of the four-letter name of God, is sheared off, becomes the Shekhinah, is trapped in each of us, in our crazy world, in our crazy thoughts, in our crazy feelings, in our crazy actions, in our crazy unconsciousness. And now it's time to return it as we do tshuva, as we remember what we are, who we are, why we are, what everything is, and how to use it. Even as we remember one moment in time, one action. You know, nobody's perfect yet, but we're moving in that direction. We must move in that direction. That's the purpose for our being. So every time you make a choice, you look at something in your life, and you could, you know, let's say you have a breakdown in a relationship, and you're looking at the person and you're blaming and you're talking, which is, you know, very destructive. You know, it's called lashon hara, evil speech, to talk about somebody in the negative. You spread, you create an energy around that person in another person's mind that will influence the negativity in the original person, that will cause judgment to come. All this, I don't like to talk about the negative, but there's, you know, I'm just using it as an example. When we choose to do that, we bring more darkness. We keep the Shekhinah in Gullus. We are not awakening to our true self. We are further separating the Hey, from the last letter of Shem Havaya, of God's name, from the rest of it, which means that the revelation, the blessings, the love, the redeemed world that we so desire, the miracles, you know, the power, the restoration, the heavenly world that we so intrinsically desire, no matter how cynical we are, we push that farther away when we choose to perpetuate darkness. Listen, it's not about the guilt. Guilt just is an excuse to do it again, but it is about the awakening. And awareness is the first step. Consciousness gives you choice. That's the way it works. So instead of that, in that example, if you look in yourself and you say, where is my part? Even if I'm 1% responsible, there's something about me that attracted that. Maybe sometimes you might be 90% responsible, but not want to look at it. Whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. Look for where you're responsible. Look for where you could have made a different choice. And if you didn't make that choice, look for why. Like, what wound in you? What thwarted desire in you? What fear in you? What unprocessed anger in you, just for example, kept you from making a choice that was enlightened? What is it in you that's keeping you from stepping up and apologizing, even if you have 1% of the responsibility? Or that's stepping up and bringing more good into that relationship? Or even in the worst case, you know, where it's a totally toxic and you're not, the only responsibility that you have is that you enabled it, you were in it, which is your responsibility. So send blessings to the person, you know, and look for what in you propelled you to enable a toxic relationship to take over your life. This is just one example. I'm just talking about relationships because it's pretty hot, you know, area for most of us, and it's pretty easy to understand. So you want to claim responsibility, part of returning the Hey, part of restoring your soul to its source, restoring the Shekhinah to God, creating the rectifications that will allow you to be a collection of vessels that can shine light fully, that can fully bring down the infinite light of God, not just the sheared off expression, that can bring light to the hiddenness, that can bring union to the separation. That's what we're talking about here. Individually and cosmically, it's the same thing, because you're a fractal, you're part of the whole. So all, like I said in the beginning, you contain everything. Not consciously, but it's nevertheless. So each time you make a different choice, you're rectifying something that separates. You're restoring some piece of that sheared off Hey. And that is touch Hey, that is returning the Hey, that is rectifying your life and the universe. And at the same time, it's not just a past-based, you know, this is where we want to move out of the word repent, because repent usually means, in common language, to fix the past. But that's where the second energy, the other energy of the Elul process, comes into play. And that is, as the past is rectified, more of the light that was not able to get into your broken vessels now can shine in. And that automatically gives you a supercharge to rectify more vessels. And then a super enhanced, expanded vessel to bring in more light. And that, of course, is going to affect other people, even in your direct circles, and certainly on a spiritual and energetic level. It's impacting not just this physical world and all of humanity, but all of the universe. Your every choice now is crucially important because this is the last incarnation. And now this is the time. So in general, we're in the Elul, the hinged period of all of the cosmos, of all of history, as we are getting ready for the redemption and making the final corrections, the final illuminations, rectifications, transformations, whatever word you like to use. And we're doing it specifically, of specific power to do it now in this month as a preparation for the new light of Rosh Hashanah. So even Elul and Rosh Hashanah are a fractal, a microcosm of the entire process that started with the beginning of, Bereshit bara Elokim es hashamayim v'ha'aretz. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And even before that, when the original plan was made, the blueprint for creation. So now it is the time. It's the time in history. It's the time in the year. It's the time in your life. Understand how important you are and how important every little decision that you make is. Tomorrow we're going to talk about congruence, about alignment and the garments of the soul in more detail. But today, I just want to bring out this point in the strongest way that I can. You are carrying a piece of God in your being, really, and it's trapped there. And when it's not trapped there anymore, you're not going to be alive, or you will be so expanded, so aligned, that it can shine right through. It's really only those choices. This is the reality, and this is the time. So, awakening to your true self, it's not a general project. It takes place in the details, in the relationships, in the choices of what you say, what you hear, of what you eat, of what you drink, of how you, everything about what you read, everything about you should be done with joy. That's the opportunity to do it with joy. There is nothing more fulfilling than feeling like you are mastering yourself. And I don't mean just in the sense of, I said I was going to do this and I was going to do that, and I did it. That's great. That's integrity. That's fantastic. That's so powerful. But on a deeper level, mastering yourself means transforming, transmuting, so that you become a clear channel for not just your human power, but for your divine power. So as you rectify the world, as you do Teshuva, as you awaken with consciousness and with choice and co-creativity and responsibility, you are actually simultaneously transforming the world and releasing the Shekhinah from imprisonment and creating the vessels for a world of heaven on earth. And it's a circle. Everything keeps generating more of everything as we go higher and bigger, higher and bigger, higher and bigger. And it compounds, and it's getting faster and faster, and pretty soon the floodgates are going to open. We're so close to the end. Okay, everybody, that's it for today. Tomorrow, again, we'll talk about alignment, the garments of your soul, creating that in your life. And I'll see ya. Take care.